Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Paddy Pimblett reveals he's fighting out his contract at UFC 304, hints at boxing YouTubers next. Moving on, Dillashaw roasts Anthony Smith over Lionheart nickname. Next, Leon Edwards would prefer fighting for middleweight title over Islam Makhachev bout. Moving on, Kamaru Usman stands by his opinion that Alex Pereira should not be high up in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings. Lastly, Chael Sonnen slams Daniel Cormier for suggesting Tom Aspinall can still sabotage planned Jon Jones vs Stipe Miocic fight. Paddy Pimblett will be fighting out his contract when he takes on Bobby Green at UFC 304 in Manchester, England. Pimblett is a perfect 5-0 in the UFC and is set for his 6th fight and his first crack at a ranked opponent. Although Pimblett is getting a big fight, the Brit revealed in a new interview that he will be fighting out his contract at UFC 304, and he hints at going to box YouTubers next time out. Here is what he said. It goes without saying I wouldn't want to go to a different organization. UFC is the cream of the crop. It's the main place. When you say to people, I do MMA, most of them go, what's that? You say UFC. People don't even know what MMA is. They know what UFC is. You never know though. Some of these stupid YouTubers who are boxing could end up offering me millions to end up fighting of them. So we'll see what happens. It would be a surprise if the UFC lets Paddy Pimblett leave in free agency, but they are letting him fight out his deal, which is a bit surprising. But Pimblett has confidence he will beat Bobby Green, which will only help increase his pay. Should he beat Bobby Green at UFC 304, Paddy Pimblett hopes to get someone ranked higher and eyes a fight with Renato Moicano. Here is what he said. Obviously, if I fight again this year, then I'm going to want to fight someone else and get in the rankings, and I'm going to want to fight someone higher up in the rankings. Me and Moicano have had a little back and forth. I'd love to fight Moicano. I think it would be absolutely hilarious to do a season of The Ultimate Fighter with him. I think that would be one of the best seasons they've ever done. This is the last fight on my contract, so we'll be getting back to the renegotiation table after this. Pimblett is coming off a decision win over Tony Ferguson back in December. Former UFC champion Dillashaw has questioned current UFC fighter Anthony Smith over his Lionheart nickname. As we know, Anthony Smith is a true veteran in mixed martial arts. Throughout the course of his career, he's fought 58 times, accumulating a record of 38-20. He even managed to get into position for a crack at the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, falling short in his clash with Jon Jones. In his most recent outing, he came up short again in a defeat to Roman. Now, as he approaches his 36th birthday, many are wondering what's next for him. He isn't the oldest of competitors in the light heavyweight division, but he certainly has a lot of miles on him in combat sports. Recently, Dillashaw was asked to give his thoughts on Smith, and he wasn't particularly complimentary. Here's what he said. Dude, he's just not good enough. Okay, so he gives up. Did he give himself that Lionheart name or what? He gives up in there. The second round, he doesn't even try to stand up. Roman's on his back, he doesn't even try to stand up. I don't give a if it's 1 week's notice. I'm fighting until I die, dog. I'm fighting with one arm. I'm doing whatever I can. Regardless of what you think of him as a fighter, nobody can deny that Anthony has given his life to the sport. What do you believe should be next for Anthony Smith? Is there any chance he could go on a run that ends in a world title shot? Let us know your thoughts. Leon Edwards says he'd prefer fighting for the middleweight title as opposed to squaring off with Islam Makhachev. Makhachev has recently expressed interest in moving up to welterweight to challenge Edwards for the welterweight title to try and become a champ. However, if Edwards gets past Belal Muhammad in the main event of UFC 304, he says he'd rather move up to middleweight to try and become a champ. Here is what he said. For sure. I feel like we've both got work to do within our division. I feel Islam just fought his first actual lightweight. He fought Volk, but this is his first actual lightweight he's fought within the division. He's on a 3-defense streak. After I beat Belal, that will be my 3rd as well, so we're both on similar paths. I can see that happening in the future. Also, I would like to move up as well and challenge for the middleweight belt, hopefully. I feel like I'd have the size for it and the skill for it, so why not chase greatness? Why Leon Edwards wants to fight for the middleweight title and try to become a champ is because the Brit says he wants to be remembered as one of the best of all time. He also wants to be atop the pound-for-pound rankings, which he believes winning the middleweight title would secure. Here is what he said. That's my goal. Obviously, my first goal was to achieve UFC title, and now I've got it. I've got to make another goal. What's going to get me up in the morning to go out there and achieve what I'm trying to achieve, the numbers, the money, the pound-for-pound rankings. However, before Leon Edwards can even get a crack at the middleweight belt, he will need to beat Belal Muhammad in the main event of UFC 304 on July 27th. Kamaru Usman stands by his opinion that Alex Pereira should not be high up in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings. Alex Pereira jumped up to the #2 spot on the UFC's pound-for-pound rankings after knocking out Jiří Procházka to retain his light heavyweight title at UFC 303. He overtook UFC heavyweight champion Jon Jones, and only lightweight champion Islam Makhachev is in front of him. Former welterweight champion Usman praised Pereira for his power, but doesn't think his style is well-rounded enough to translate from division to division, even though Pereira now has won UFC titles at both middleweight and light heavyweight. Pereira has even teased a possible move to heavyweight. Talking to the media, here is what Kamaru said. "When we talk pound for pound, let's not forget pound for pound is a hypothetical. That means, do you possess the highest level of striking, of wrestling, of kickboxing, of grappling, of jiu-jitsu? That's all that means. Yes, you can stand and knock everybody out, guys who aren't moving, guys who aren't shooting on you, guys who aren't testing your grappling, but that doesn't mean you are #1 pound for pound. So don't be upset about that. Don't be butthurt about it. If anything, show me your pound for pound. Go out there, take the next guy down, get on top, full mount, switch up, arm bar on top. That lets me know, oh shit. Okay, Pereira now has defended his light heavyweight title twice, scoring knockouts of Jamal Hill and Jiří Procházka for a second time. Top contender Magomed Ankalaev is chomping at the bit to get his title opportunity, but Pereira's next opponent is yet to be announced. Chael Sonnen has questioned Daniel Cormier for suggesting Tom Aspinall could still interrupt the planned Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic showdown. As we know, Tom Aspinall is the interim UFC heavyweight champion. At UFC 304 in Manchester, he'll defend that title against Curtis Blaydes. The Englishman is considered to be the favorite, but regardless of whether or not he wins, he's unlikely to go up against Jon Jones in his next outing. After Daniel Cormier recently suggested that an Aspinall win at UFC 304 could change the plan, Chael Sonnen responded. Here's what he said. "Is he Cormier drunk? Did he hurt his head? Did he fall off a ladder or something like this? Is he working on a comedy routine?" I ask because he thinks that Tom Aspinall, with a proper victory, could take Stipe's fight against Jon Jones away. He can't be serious, right? He said with a proper performance, gotta be an absolute drubbing. Aspinall's gotta go out there in front of his people and whip Curtis Blaydes, and there could be such an uprising by you, the crowd, that UFC would have no choice but to give Tom the fight. Do you believe Tom Aspinall will ever fight Jon Jones? Share your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.